The bell over the diner door jingled softly as Clara wiped the counter for the 10th time that morning. The sun had barely crept over the horizon, and the lonely stretch of Route 66 outside the diner shimmered in the early light. She'd been working double shifts all week. Tips were slow, the coffee machine was sputtering again, and rent was due in 4 days. But Clara kept her smile on, the same way she did every day, because she believed in small kindnesses. Sometimes it was a refill for a trucker who looked tired. Sometimes it was a free slice of pie for an old widow who came by just to talk. That morning, though, the kindness felt heavy. The place was nearly empty except for 2 regulars. Old Man Hemlock, a grey-haired farmer who read the paper at the corner booth, and a teenage couple, Liam and Chloe, sharing pancakes. The quiet hum of the jukebox filled the space, soft country music echoing like a heartbeat through the walls. Then the sound of engines broke the calm, loud, echoing, roaring, like distant thunder rolling across the plains. Clara glanced up, expecting to see the local bikers who sometimes stopped in for coffee and pie. But what walked through the door wasn't them. It was 3 men, rough around the edges, wearing torn jackets and loud voices. Their laughter was sharp, the kind that made the air in a room shrink. The first one, a tall man with tattoos snaking up his neck, whistled as he slid into a booth. "Hey, sweetheart," he drawled. "How about some service over here?" Clara nodded politely. "Sure thing, sir. What can I get you to drink?" "Coffee," another one said, grinning in a way that wasn't friendly. "But only if you're the one pouring it, doll." She felt a knot in her stomach tighten but forced to smile, coming right up. When she turned her back, she heard them laugh. One of them mimicked her voice in a high-pitched tone, and another slammed the table just to make her flinch. Old Man Hemlock looked up, frowning, but stayed quiet. Liam and Chloe paid quickly and left, their heads down. Clara filled the coffee cups with shaking hands. She'd been in situations like this before, men who mistook her politeness for weakness. She'd learned to keep her voice calm, her posture neutral. Don't make it worse, just get through the moment. But when she brought the coffee over, the tall one leaned closer. "You missed a spot," he said, pointing at his shirt. "How about you clean that up for me?" The others laughed, one snapping his fingers toward her like she was a pet. Clara took a slow breath. "Sir, please don't do that. You'll have to watch your language in here." The tall man grinned wider. "Oh, I'll watch it all right, sweetheart, especially when you bend over." That's when he said it, loud enough for the whole diner to hear. "Serve us, bitch." The word cracked through the air like a slap. Old Man Hemlock dropped his newspaper. Clara froze, her face burning, her hands trembling just enough to spill a few drops of coffee onto the table. The man smirked, satisfied with the reaction. His friends whistled again. She wanted to scream, to cry, to throw the coffee in his face. But she couldn't. Not here. Not in the place that barely kept her afloat. So she straightened up, set the pot down, and whispered, "You need to leave." "Oh yeah?" The tattooed one mocked. "And who's going to make us, sweetheart? You." He stood, towering over her. His shadow swallowed the sunlight pouring through the windows. The diner went quiet. So quiet Clara could hear the clock ticking over the counter. Then came another sound. Engines. Deep, thunderous, familiar. Not one this time. 5, maybe 6. The floor trembled as they drew closer, the echo growing louder until it drowned out the jukebox. The thugs looked toward the window, confusion flickering on their faces. The door swung open. They walked in, 6 bikers clad in leather vests, dust on their boots, the kind of presence that filled the room before they even spoke. At the front was a broad man with silver in his beard and eyes that saw everything. The patch on his vest read, "Iron Saints MC." He nodded at Clara. "Morning, Clara." Her breath caught in relief. "Morning, Riker." The thugs exchanged looks. "Friends of yours, sweetheart," one sneered. Riker's eyes flicked to the table, to the spilled coffee, to the fear in Clara's posture. He didn't answer the man. He just stepped closer to the counter. The other bikers spread out. casual but deliberate, each taking a seat or leaning against a booth. The air shifted, heavy with unspoken warning. Clara swallowed hard. "Just having some trouble with these gentlemen," she said softly. Riker's jaw tightened. He turned his head slightly. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice low but steady, "that what we're calling 'em these days." The tattooed one snorted. "Back off, old man. We're just having a little fun." "Fun," Riker repeated like the word tasted sour. "See, that's the thing. Fun don't usually involve scaring a woman just trying to earn her living." "Who the hell do you think you are?" one of them snapped. Riker took a slow step forward. "Name's Riker Harris, and I think I'm the guy who's telling you your fun's over." The diner felt smaller now. The sunlight through the windows seemed to freeze in midair. Even Old Man Hemlock was sitting perfectly still. One of the thugs stood, trying to puff up his chest. "You don't scare me." Riker smiled faintly. "I don't have to." The next few seconds stretched thin. The bikers didn't move, didn't raise their voices, but something in their stillness spoke louder than any threat could. Years of quiet strength, of protecting their own, of understanding what it meant to stand up when others couldn't. The tattooed man's smirk faltered. "Come on, let's get out of this dump," one muttered, trying to sound in control. But Riker wasn't done. "Hold up," he said, his voice calm. "Before you leave, you're going to apologize to her." The leader turned back, eyes narrowing. "You serious?" "Dead serious," Riker said. For a moment, it looked like he might refuse. But then he glanced at the 6 men standing silently behind Riker, their eyes cold, their expressions carved from stone, and his courage cracked. He muttered something under his breath and spat. "Fine." "Sorry." Riker raised an eyebrow, louder. The man clenched his jaw. "Sorry." Clara didn't move, didn't speak. She just stared, stunned, as they pushed past the door and out into the parking lot. Their truck roared to life and disappeared down the road. Silence hung heavy for a moment. Then Riker looked at her. "You okay, Clara?" Her lip trembled. Yeah, I think so." He nodded. "Good. You shouldn't have to take that kind of crap. Not from anyone." She blinked, the tears she'd held back finally breaking free. "Thank you." Riker's expression softened. "You don't thank me. You just make me the biggest damn coffee you got, and one of those cherry pies you know I love." The bikers chuckled, the tension melting into laughter. Clara let out a shaky laugh too, wiping her eyes. Coming right up. As she poured their coffees, the diner filled again with the hum of easy conversation. One of the bikers, a younger guy with a scar across his cheek named Rook, said gently, "You handled yourself real good, Mom. Better than most would have." Clara smiled faintly. "I was just trying to keep the peace." "Yeah," Rook said, "but peace needs folks like you to hold it together, and folks like us to back it up when it breaks." The words stayed with her. Hours passed, and the diner slowly returned to normal. The farmers came in, the regulars joked, and the afternoon sun turned the chrome on the stools to gold. But something in Clara had changed. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She felt seen, protected, part of something bigger. Later, as Riker and his crew got up to leave, she ran out to the parking lot, wiping her hands on her apron. "Wait," she called. Riker turned, hand resting on his bike's handle. I don't know how to repay you," she said. Riker shook his head. "You already did. You kept this place running when most folks would have walked away. That's worth more than you think." She hesitated, then smiled. "Well, coffee's on the house next time." He grinned. "You got yourself a deal, sweetheart." The engines roared to life again, the sound echoing down the road like thunder fading into the distance. Clara stood there watching until they were gone, her heart still thudding, not with fear this time, but with gratitude. Inside, Old Man Hemlock folded his paper and said quietly, "Good folks, those boys." She nodded. "Yeah, the best." That night, after closing, Clara sat alone in the diner booth, staring out at the stars above the empty highway. For the first time in weeks, she didn't feel small. She didn't feel powerless. She thought about Riker's words, about how strength didn't always come from fighting. It came from standing, from being kind in a world that sometimes didn't deserve it, from believing there were still people who would walk in just when you needed them most. The next morning, when she opened the diner, she found something taped to the counter, a small envelope with grease marks and a motorcycle club emblem stamped on the back. Inside was a folded note and a wad of cash, at least a month's rent. The note read, "Gratitude for the girl who stands tall, from the men who walk with thunder." Her hand flew to her mouth. She sat down, tears spilling freely this time, not from fear or exhaustion, but from something warmer, hope. She looked out the window again toward the horizon where the road stretched endlessly into the dawn. The world was still rough, still cruel in places, but now she knew it could also be just. And somewhere out there, she knew 6 engines would always be ready to roar again if ever another heart like hers needed them. Because sometimes heroes don't wear badges or capes. Sometimes they wear leather, carry scars, and drink black coffee in small-town diners. And sometimes, all it takes for the world to tilt back toward right is for the right people to walk in.